Radio 4. And now it's 12:20. Desert Island Discs. And as usual, the castaway is introduced by Roy Plumley.
This week, our castaway is the celebrated soprano, Victoria de Los Angeles. Now, that's not your real name, that's your stage name, isn't it? Victoria of the Angels, which is very beautiful.
No, it's not my stage name, it is my real name.
It's your real name,
Oh, yes. My mother was Victoria, my godfather, that was my uncle, was Angel, and they had a little fight because they wanted each of them that I was called one Victoria or Los Angeles.
Yes.
And finally my father, the Andalusian, they have great imagination, and he knew that in Spain you can find many young girls with the name of Maria de Los Angeles. So he went to the church and asked to the priest if it was possible, instead of Maria de Los Angeles, somebody to be called Victoria de Los Angeles, a combination of my mother and my uncle. Mm-hmm. So the priest say, well, yes, it's all right. It is for that I have this name. Thanks God, I think my father had a great idea, because for stage, I think it is a very good name.
How did you set about choosing just 8 records? Are you looking into the past? Are they great performances, great pieces of music? How did you set about choosing your discs?
Well, I choose this program. It's very difficult because there are so many great performances of everything and so great music that really it is very difficult to choose. Some of these records are associated or something. Others not, or others are because I like it.
What's the first one? What are we going to hear first?
Well, the first one is Image, Debussy Image, played by Benedetti Michelangelo.
One of the Debussy Image, Reflections on the Water, played by Arturo Benedetti Michelangelo. Whereabouts in Spain were you born?
I was born in Barcelona.
Where your father worked at the university?
Oh, yes, my father was a caretaker in the university, and I was born there. He was Andalusian, and my mother was Castilian.
Yes. Did you have a lot of brothers and sisters?
I have a sister older than me, and I have a brother that is younger. I am in the middle. And I don't say my age like that.
Looking back, you look back on your childhood as a happy time?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Were your parents musical?
Yes. My mother sang very, very well. The voice was very similar to mine, more lyrical, and she used to sing morning till night. Always. And I learned a lot of songs from her. My uncle was a musician. He played by ear, guitar, the accordion, mandolin. He played even percussion. Mm-hmm. So I lived always in the middle of the music.
Whose idea was it that you should take lessons? Was that your idea or your mother's?
Since my childhood, of course, I have sang in the school and for my friends, and everybody was saying, oh, this little child, beautiful voice, but nobody thought to make an artist of me. One day my sister, when I was 15 years old, she said to me, why we don't go without saying to nobody, why we don't go to the conservatory to try the voice, what he's going to say about it. And because she had a great faith, and the teacher said to me, well, she was surprised. She said a lot of wonderful things, and she said, you must study, of course. So I went quickly to my home and I said, Father, I think I'm going to study singing at the same time that I do high school, as you want.
Yes.
You see, I never had the idea of study singing because I wanted to be a singer. There was nothing to do with that. It's only because I liked to sing. The thing that happened is the circumstance that in my home was not enough money. And I began to have great success in the conservatory in my studies. And I was popular in there. I had a big success in the radio, and I began to earn some money each month. And I realized that I was, from the 3 children of my parents, the only one that could help them. So I began with that. That was the idea. And I never had the ambition to be a singer.
And you were singing on radio while you were still a student? While you were still at the conservatory?
Yes. I had 75 pesetas each month. That
Well
was the third part of the earnings of my father.
Let's have another record.
Yes.
What shall your next one be?
Well, it's Tristan. I love Tristan and Isolde very much because, I cannot go to see the performances. I cry from the beginning till it's finished because of the love of these 2 persons. And also I had the great chance to hear Flagstedt when I was a student in Barcelona, and the sound of this great singer still in my heart, in my mind, in my ears, and so I choose Tristan, and I think it's a great performance.
Which part of the opera shall we hear?
Liebestod.
The end.
The end, yes.
Kirsten Flagstad, the Liebestod from Tristan and Isolde. Your first appearance in opera was in Orfeo, was it not, when you were still a student?
No. I make my debut in 1944, first in a recital, and in the same year in the Countess of Mariage of Figaro.
Mm-hmm.
That was my debut.
You were seen at a graduation concert by some very influential people.
Well, I was seen 2 years before I finished my studies in the conservatory by a group that was dedicated to ancient music of Spain as an amateur group. And they used to work together with Higinio Mosén Anglès, who was a great musicologist, and they created this Ars Musicae. So they went to hear singers during the examinations in the conservatory, and they heard me. And they thought, well, it could be a great loss if now the parents, maybe because they don't have money, she sings and is going to begin to sing zarzuela or something like that.
Operatic.
So they make an offer to say, look, you are going to have more teachings, more professors for yourself, and you are going to sing with us to learn ancient music of Spain. And they introduced me also, why you don't sing Brahms and Schubert and all the composers. Because in the conservatory I did only opera. It was only the thing I learned.
And they arranged a tour for you, did they not? A tour for you to sing your Spanish songs?
In Spain, there were a lot of musical societies. They arranged that I had 2-3 times a year a tour of recitals. But this was not considered as a professional thing. It was considered as the practice of my theoric learnings in the conservatory. So I went, I earned some money. It was not professional. This I had always in my mind. And I come back to my conservatory at Barcelona. I continue my studies. And so until 1950, I began my professional career, yes.
What was your first appearance outside Spain?
Outside Spain was a part of the contest in Geneva in 1947. After that, I came some months afterwards. I came here to London, to the BBC, and I sang Vida Breve in English. It was very difficult. But
Yes, having sung it in Spanish so often.
But it was very difficult to put the same excitement or expression in English. For me, it was very difficult.
Well, there you are, a BBC artist, so let's break there for your next record. What shall we have next?
Next, I choose Pablo Neruda, the poet.
Why?
Well, because he impressed me very much some years ago. I read the 20 poems of love and the Song of Despair of him, and I find him a kind of a man that I would really like to have known, because I thought his way of saying things was so sincere, so open, so great that I fell nearly in love with Neruda.
You've chosen a poem of his in English.
In English, yes.
Let the rail splitter awake. Let Abe come. Let his aged yeast raise the green and gold earth of Illinois. Let them march, singing and smiling, the young white, the young Negro. Let them sing, laugh, and conquer.
A poem by Pablo Neruda, Let the Rail Splitter Awake, read or recited by Paul Robeson. Mimi in La Boheme was the first role you sang at Covent Garden in London, is that right?
Yes. With everybody singing in English.
I remember this used to happen. You sang Massenet's Manon in French when the rest of the cast were singing in English.
Yes, it was very funny and difficult for me.
Very difficult, of course. You were getting all sorts of cues that didn't sound right.
Yes.
And some of the translations, I'm sure, didn't quite match with what was going on.
Maybe, but I didn't know nothing about it.
And you've been a regular visitor at the Metropolitan in New York?
Oh, yes. I think it's the theater where I have sang more. I have been nearly 14 seasons there singing.
Yes.
And I did, in between, a lot of recitals. I worked a lot. And they used to call me the healthy soprano of Metropolitan. Yes.
Let's have another record. What next?
The next one is Carmen, sang by my dear Supervia.
Conchita Supervia.
Conchita Supervia, yeah.
Did you ever see her? No, you couldn't.
Never.
have.
I didn't have this luck because she died in 1936. And the name of Supervia came alive when I began in the conservatory. My teacher said something about her. But when I heard more the name of Supervia was in 1947 here in London, where always I had in the critics or conversations, there came always the name of Supervia.
L'étrangle de sistre tâtée, avec un éclat métallique, et sur cette étrange musique, les zingarellas se levaient. Dans courte pascale leur train, et les guitares forcenées, grinçaient sous des mains obstinées, même chanson, même refrain, même chanson, même refrain.
Conchita Supervia as Carmen. Where is your home? Do you still live in Barcelona?
Yes. I have my home there.
And you have 2 children?
I have 2 children, 14 and 10-year-old.
Both boys?
Both boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Are they musical?
Yes, in a way. My older one has begun now with rock and roll and jazz and playing percussion. And sometimes I hear that he puts some records of mine for their friends to hear. My mother sings, you see, Madame Butterfly. So it is something.
Yes. How do you try to plan your travels? Do you like to go away for a long time once a year, or do you like to go away for just a short time and go home again?
Well, I used to do long tours, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. But since my first boy, I arranged shorter periods out of my home because I wanted to see the little one, and it was very difficult. So I began to arrange more recitals than operas. This was one of the reasons when I put the opera more aside little by little, because of the first child. After came the second one, and happened the same thing. So I like to come back home, not to stay too long.
Another record. What's number 5 on your list there?
Well, I think nobody can go to an island without Mozart. So I thought the concerto number 3 in G major for violin with my dear, dear friend Isaac Stern.
The slow movement from the 3rd Mozart Violin Concerto with Isaac Stern and members of the Cleveland Orchestra conducted by George Szell. I've been looking up the list of your recordings, Victoria. It's a very impressive list. Nearly 50 long players of songs and 20-something operas. You've recorded with very many celebrated conductors. Is it true that your recording of La Bohème with Beecham was done in about 3 days?
Yes. Yes, at least my parts were in 3 days done.
You've said that you knew how to handle Beecham.
Well, I never tried to handle Beecham. You see, I find that Sir Thomas Beecham a very kind person. I like it very much, his humor.
Some people didn't. Now, you must have had
special
charm.
They didn't understand that just for the pleasure of a joke, he said things. I mean, it was nothing against you. I loved him. I think he was a great artist.
You worked a lot with Monteux?
Yes, a lot. Yes,
you enjoyed working with him?
Very much, very much. It was a simple kind of a person. Mm. And you can talk with him. I had a funny story in the Metropolitan Opera House when I did Pelléas and Mélisande. It was a repetiteur there, and we were making a rehearsal. And the repetiteur said to me, "I'm sorry, Victoria, but you didn't pronounce very well that in French." And Monteux, laughing, saying he was not angry at all because the repetiteur said that to me. No. He said only, "But you don't know that Mélisande, nobody knows from where he came. Nobody knows what. She can speak French or any other language in any way he wants, so stop it." and the other one was... We just laugh.
We've got to number 6. What's that?
Number 6 is Péléas.
That we were just talking about.
Oh, well, Péléas Mélisande is one of my great loves because I love Maeterlinck. I love the poetry very much. I love it, the words. And I choose this last part, this is a duetto with Péléas when he goes away. And finally, for first time, we hear both of them saying, I love you. For me, I was a very special kind of person in this time in Metropolitan. I was very, very, very shy. And, you know, to say je t'aime aussi without any kind of sound in the orchestra, just alone, with all these people in front of me, saying to a young man near to me, je t'aime aussi. And you know, I was waiting the whole night, just this moment to say, je t'aime aussi. And it is for that I choose that.
Sais-tu pourquoi je t'ai demandé de venir ce soir? C'est peut-être la dernière fois que je te vois. Il faut que je m'en aille pour toujours.
Pourquoi dis-tu toujours que tu t'en vas?
Je dois te dire ce que tu sais déjà. Tu ne sais pas ce que je vais te dire.
Mais non, je ne sais rien.
Tu ne sais pas pourquoi il faut que je m'éloigne. Tu ne sais pas que c'est parce que je t'aime.
Je t'aime aussi.
Oh, qu'as-tu dit, Mélisande? Je ne l'ai presque pas entendu.
An excerpt from Debussy's Péléas et Mélisande with Irène Joachim and Jacques Janssen. Now, why did we hear that recording instead of yours?
I don't think it is right to hear myself. If I didn't like what Irène Joachim did, maybe I choose mine, but I love the way she does. So I prefer another singer to hear myself.
You'll be able to sing your own version on the island for yourself.
Oh, yes, very badly.
On this island, there you are all alone. Could you look after yourself in isolation? Could you build somewhere to live?
I suppose I'm going to work like crazy. I'm going to search for food and all these things. I'm going to learn a lot of things.
Would you try to escape, if it were possible, if you
Possible to escape off the island?
Yes.
Well, maybe not. Maybe if I feel finally with myself so well, maybe I don't. To escape will represent to begin again another life.
Right. Back to music. Number 7.
It's Mahler that I choose, the Adagietto from the 5th Symphony. This Adagietto comes in a part of my life where I was very, very, very sad. And one day I heard it and touched me so much that I still have inside of me. And I cry all the time. And even when I talk to you now, I could cry. So I will need it, Mahler, very much.
The Adagietto from Mahler's 5th Symphony George Schulte conducting the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Now, Victoria, you've just got one more record. What's that to be?
Well, I choose, if it is possible, all kind of noises, songs of birds, sounds of animals, the cars crossing,
Right.
all kind of sounds that remind me that there is a world that still exists. It is not only your island.
How was that? Was that a fair sample of the sounds of the outside world?
Fine.
Settle for that. If you could only take one disc out of the 8 you've played us, which would it be?
It would be Adagietto.
The Adagietto from the Mahler Symphony No. 5, George Schulte and the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Now, you're allowed to take one luxury with you.
Well, the first thing that came in mind was, such a great luxury. The Victoria of Samothracia, how you say it in English?
The Victory of Samothrace.
Yes, Victory of Samothrace.
From the Louvre.
From the Louvre, imagine, full Louvre.
Yes, we'll have to get it from the Louvre for you, but we'll manage somehow.
All right.
And we're going to let you have one book.
My book is a book of letters, poetry of Rainer Maria Rilke.
Rainer Maria Rilke. Would you like it in German or translated into Spanish?
I would like to know so much German as to read Rilke. But I have a book where in one side is literally is a translation of the German and the other side is the German. And because I know a little of German, I enjoy it very much, the work.
And it's German and Spanish or German?
German and Spanish,
German
yes.
and Spanish,
Yes.
right. You shall have that edition.
Yes.
And thank you, Victoria de Los Angeles, for letting us hear your Desert Island discs.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye, everyone.